So yeah, this talk is called Accessibility is Reach. And we're going to be talking about the future of accessibility in Ember and what I think that means and how I think we'll get there. I also really love to see references to my talks on social media. So in all my slides, you'll see Melanie Sumner. That's my Twitter handle. Please tell the world how much you love my talk. And if you have to be mean, that's okay too. This is my first talk in real life since the world shut down, right? So thank you for your patience. Little thing to get us all warmed up. The attendee survey after Emberfest 2019 indicated that people wanted more concrete samples in presentations. So I've got one for you. The Pantheon here in Rome was built approximately 2,000 years ago. And to this day, it is the largest unreinforced concrete dome ever built and is still standing strong. By comparison, most modern concrete is much stronger, but doesn't last nearly as long because the rebar reinforcement eventually rusts, and this causes the concrete to get destroyed from the inside out. The conference organizers hope this is the example you were looking for. So, for those who know me or just don't know me yet, I'm Melanie Sumner. I am a senior design systems engineer at HashiCorp. I am a member of the Ember Framework core team. I'm also a member of the ARIA working group and co-editor of the accessible name specification. And I'm also a disabled, decorated military veteran. If you'd like to find out more about me, you can visit my website, melanie.codes. You can also see me on Discord, where I am your friendly server admin. So let's start by talking about reviewing the accessibility progress that we've made since we saw each other last. When I first set out to improve accessibility in Ember, I put a process in place to ensure our success. Also because I had to rationalize the work I wanted to do to my employers, and I wanted other people to help. And I figured those other people would probably have to rationalize that work to their employers too. So if we could get pre-organized up front, maybe we'd be successful. So, first step, set a goal. What are we going to do? What's the scope of the work? Then identify the things that are blocking that goal. Measure the impact to the user. How severe is this issue for our users? Then we formed a team, and then we incrementally ship solutions. So if you need to do something like this at your company, you can look at this as an example of something, I'll tell you now, it worked. So step one, set the goal. No new Ember app should immediately fail accessibility conformance criteria. That seems pretty reasonable, right? You start Ember new my app, and then you say Ember S, your server's running, you get Thompson saying, congratulations, you did it. Well, probably Tom, congratulations, you did it. Maybe he has a lower voice. But that app, if you ran accessibility conformance tests on that app, that would already fail. And we thought, okay, well, let's start there. Keeping this true north in mind, came up with some of the 5 major issues we could tackle. So for routing, when you go to a page, it doesn't tell you that you've been to a page. We saw this yesterday in the Space Jam talk. They would go to a new, and there was just nothing. You heard nothing. So am I at the wrong place? Did the link not work? I don't know. And there's no focus reset. So you go to a new place and the focus stays exactly where it was. And that's not something users with assistive technology expect. And there are no skip links. So skip link is a bypass mechanism, typically at the top of the page. And what it allows the user to do is skip all the header navbar and go directly to the content that they're trying to get to. And usually a user would typically use this if they're more familiar with the site. You don't need to hear the 25 links that they've decided to put at the top of the page every single time. The next issue that we identified was that there were no page titles. You could use an add-on. There were a few options, but we felt like Ember should provide this as the default experience. And we were missing label support for input elements, especially after we switched to Glimmer components, which are really great, and template-only Glimmer components. But we didn't have a meaningful way to then easily associate a label and an input for forms. And, you know, the web is forms. Like, this is what we all do all day, build forms. We were also missing a default language declaration. And if you use if you internationalize your apps, you are eventually going to do this. But we felt like you should have a way to do this up front by default. And if you need to change it later, you can. And then this one wasn't in the startup app, but it was kind of not very far off. So we included it. And it's that Splattributes didn't really give us what we needed for ARIA attributes, because there are some ARIA attributes that can have multiple values, and the order of those values matters. But don't worry, there's only like 5, and I'm totally going to teach you what they are. So I see some worried faces, so don't worry. So, measuring user impact. We have 3 severity levels. Severity level 1 is the lowest severity level. I should have called it severity level 0. Off by 1 error. Anyway, this is the lowest severity level, and it's not likely that it would prevent users from accessing the content. They probably have another way to access the content, but it could affect the ability of some folks to use the page. Could. So that's the first. Level 2, it's likely to make it difficult for some people to access content and could prevent users from accessing the page content. And this is the worst one. This is severity level 3. Absolutely will prevent access to sections of the site or the ability to perform required functions. An example of this is nested interactive elements. The other day I came across a button nested inside of a link. That's not going to work. Sorry. So, next step. Formed a team. Put out a call. Told folks what we were going to be working on. And these kind of folks showed up. You might recognize some of them. That handsome man in the top row in the second column, that's my husband. So, yeah, hi, honey. I hope you're asleep since it's 3 a.m. in Chicago. Yeah. So that's the team, and they showed up, and even more people than this showed up, and it was really fantastic. So, step 5, incrementally shipping solutions. Incrementally. So we met each week. We decided what we were going to talk about and work on that week. And it was a judgment-free zone. It wasn't, did you work on the thing? No, what did you work on? Right? Because it's all volunteer work anyway, and I'm grateful just to have folks there. So whatever progress you did or didn't make is not the point. It's nice to make progress, of course. Not the point, though. It's communicating that progress. And that's something I think we do really well in our community. It's about going incrementally, and it's about communication. So first up, the router. Ember's router is pretty great. Okay, query params are weird, but we're trying. I think Ember is special because it respects the URL. And that is one of the things I instantly loved about Ember. You weren't trying to make me do weird stuff. I could just very logically make my routes and nest my routes, and it worked the way I thought it should work. I've been creating websites since 1997. So coming to Ember in 2015, it really made sense, like the way everything was structured. That was nice. But where accessibility is concerned, we didn't have anything that said, hey, your route transition worked. You're on the new page. You can, go forth and conquer. There's also no focus management. There's no skip link or anything like that. So we have Ember A11Y refocus. It's kind of a weird name, but it does 3 things. It lets the screen reader user know that the route has changed. It resets the focus. And this is similar to the native web experience. And it gives a skip link, a bypass mechanism. Oh, say that 10 times fast. So you can skip the nav and get straight to the content. And we wanted a way to customize this. So you can internationalize the message. You can tweak it and customize it entirely, so it's not just whatever we put in there by default. You can say anything. You could even make it say, woohoo, you're on a new page. And, you can have a lot of fun with it if you want. It doesn't use ARIA Live. Turns out users with assistive technology especially hate it when ARIA Live's on a page because it interrupts everything you're doing. Even if you use the polite, no, polite just means it waits until you've had a pause in whatever you're doing, and then it still asserts itself. So it's very frustrating. And there are a lot of options. You could use the skip link, or you cannot use the skip link. You can customize the message. You can internationalize the message. You can send the focus somewhere else in your template or your route when it's finished letting the user know. So we have an issue to write an RFC to add this to a new app. We haven't done it yet, but we could do it. If you want to help tackle that, if you like writing RFCs, let me know. Missing page title was next up, and that resulted in RFC 645, where we added Ember page title to the app blueprint. That, hopefully y'all know how to use that now. There are a lot of great options. You can set things to be in a custom order. You can pull the page title from the model. You can use a separator. You can customize the separator. You can tell it which ones you want to be in front or back or whatever. So there's a lot of great options there. If you haven't checked out all the options and all the, things you can, bells and whistles, do that. The next one is label supports for input elements. So in Ember component patterns, we have demonstrated that you could do, if you had a backing class, you could use good for and make it the thing that you need. We had some art added to the guides to make it easier to understand visually. But then we also created an add-on for template-only components to help give you that helper. And we turned that experiment into an RFC for a unique ID helper, because we really want a way for you to be able to write a template-only component and still make it accessible, still have a way to associate a label element with an input field. Missing default language declaration was fun for a few reasons that we'll get to. This introduced, RFC 635, introduced the lang flag for Ember new or Ember add-on commands within Ember CLI. So you can spin up a new app and tell it what language you want it to start with, or when in Rome. And it will add the language attribute to the HTML element, and just like that, your app will no longer be failing the WCAG success criteria related to language of the page. And now it's pub quiz time. We learned some fun things about languages and programming languages while we were writing this flag. What is TS? Someone said TypeScript. I heard it. is also the abbreviation for a language spoken by 3 countries in Africa. What about XML? It is Malaysian Sign Language. Fun, right? Got one more for you. What's CSS? I don't know. We're at a JavaScript conference. Who knows? Get this. It was a dead language. It was completely kaput. And then some historians decided we should bring it back. So now 3 people in the world speak it. So we had to put a warning in there saying, make sure you don't mean. Super fun, right? Anyway, so improper support via attributes. The pandemic sort of made it so the core team couldn't meet face-to-face, and this is one of those face-to-face discussions. So it's still on the shelf, but we'll get there. But ideas always give you more ideas, and that was the great thing about this. So we have RFC 638, which is, what if we had an interactive new app experience? What if we could guide you through what we think your options should be, right? So we give you really strong defaults, but we could say, these other ones are okay too. You could pick. So we wrote that RFC. It's still to be implemented. So if you like writing those kinds of tools, again, let me know. We had someone in the group made Ember Select Lite. So Ember Power Select is unfortunately not accessible. But Ember Select Lite gives you a native select component with all the Ember magic that we've grown to know and love. The right kind of magic, like Ed said yesterday. We also did a lot of great work on Ember Template. We added, it's got 26 accessibility-related rules in it. Turn them on. It's me telling you, I see you. Turn them on. Or don't turn them off. They're turned on by default, so don't turn them off. We also implemented a to-do feature. And this is so you really have no excuse. You can turn them on and run the to-dos. And the to-dos will create a future date and time that you set to fix the issues on existing code. But then the linting rule is already immediately in place for any new code you write. So that was our get out of that cycle of fix the bug, but more code's been written by then. So you try to ship it and you find more bugs, and you just get stuck in this vicious cycle. Anyway, I gave a talk on this called Continuous Accessibility. And if you haven't seen that talk yet, that's what the QR code is for. It will take you to those slides. Please don't look at it right now, though, because I want you to listen to this one. That's what we've been up to. Awesome, right? So what is our, first, can we get a big round of applause for all the people that were on the accessibility working group that showed up week after week and helped ship these solutions? Yeah, well done. So what are we doing right now? In May is Global Accessibility Awareness Day, which you probably know because I tweet and talk about it on Discord and write blog posts and try to get people to do stuff. And folks do stuff. I'm very proud of our community in that sense. This year, the framework took the Global Accessibility Awareness Day pledge. Okay, what does that mean? The pledge is to make accessibility a core value of the Ember JavaScript framework. Oh, that sounds like a nice idea. It probably already was. So let's talk about the practicalities of that. What are we going to do, or what is our intention to complete by May of 2022? Implement the unique ID helper. So we saw that RFC, it needs to be implemented. That's one of the things on the list. Implement the interactive mode for new Ember apps. Also another RFC that got written and approved and merged, just hasn't been implemented yet. Write the RFC to include Ember A11Y refocus in the default blueprint, behind a flag, all that good stuff. Finish making the Ember website accessible, including the guides and the API docs. If you want help with that, Chris Manson is definitely your guy. And then increase the available accessibility automation, linting for static content and testing for dynamic content. And if you want to help with that, I've got some issues ready in Ember template lint repo that are marked with accessibility and enhancement. I'm also keeping track of that in a project, the A11Y automation tracker. It's a little project I did to itemize all of the potential ways your app could fail accessibility conformance and whether or not any kind of automation for that exists. And that's at a11y-automation.dev. This is also an open source project, uses Ember and Tailwind. So if you ever want to contribute to an open source project that's, I think it's kind of fun, please help out. In the potential violations list, well, these badges, for one, do you know how impossible it is to make an accessible badge? Oh my God, I can't even. But in the potential violations list, we see I've analyzed each one for, could it exist? Does it already exist? Maybe it can't exist because technology isn't sufficiently advanced yet. And in cases of, let's see, we've got linting on the left, testing in the middle, and manual testing, like you actually have to sit down at a keyboard to try it. In some cases, that must exist. So if it could exist, that means it's been evaluated. I figured out it could be done. It just hasn't been done yet. So work to do. So what does community participation look like? I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because there have been lots of talks over the years that have covered this, and we all know that there are 100 ways to be a contributor, right? You're not just a contributor if you write code. I mean, that's a big part of it, obviously, but. And if you see something on this list that speaks to you, great. If you need more ideas, come talk to me because I have like, oh my God, a bajillion ideas. We could stay busy for the rest of our lives, for real. So what part will you play? Now, before you think about that too much, I'm going to take a moment to recognize something pretty serious. Yeah, in a funny way, of course, because me, right? But for real, the pandemic, like it changed the way we lived our lives. It took an emotional toll. The world kind of just went nutso. If folks are dealing with the physical, emotional, mental, all of those kinds of issues. And this is costing us in ways we're only beginning to understand. Long-term effects of this. How has this changed how our children learn? How has this changed how we work? All of these things are different, and they're probably different permanently. There's new normal to find. And so it's cost us. And by extension, because we are the community, it's cost our community as well. It's easy to give when things are going well, when you have emotional and mental reserves to give. It's easy to say, yes, I will help, I will give. It's not so easy lately. And that's important to recognize. So really what I want you to think about is starting where you are. Maybe your tank is still empty, and guess what? That's okay. It's okay. You're just fine, because we're still going to be here when you're ready. Maybe you're ready to jump back in with little tasks, and you want them very well defined, and you want just something little, something you can just start to get back to normal. When I don't know what to do, I do the next thing on my list. I always have a list of things to do. When I have an idea, it goes on the list. When I don't know what to do, I go to the list and find something. So if that's you, if that's where you are, let's start there. DM me or ask in Dev Learning. That's a good place to start. They always have small tasks that are very concrete and can be done. Or maybe your company is like, How can we get back into things? And maybe you're ready to try a hack day. Maybe you're ready to try a sprint. Let's plan it. Let me know. I will help you. I will help you get this planned. You can, if you want help, obviously. I'm not saying you have to have it. The plan that you saw earlier that we used for the working group, take it, use it, copy it, tweak it, whatever you need. And if we need to get on a Zoom call and do a kickoff or something like that, let me know. I clearly do not object to European time zones. So, wherever you are, whether you're ready or not ready, it's all okay. Also, I love you and support you, and I think you're awesome. Just in case somebody hasn't told you that lately. So, the future. What's the future? Scary, weird, whatever. Or, the future is reach. I know it's one of those like weird thought literary things to say, and I don't usually say shit like that. Pardon my French. But I want to tell you a story. I had been playing Animal Crossing like most people during the pandemic until it started hurting my wrists. I'm in my 40s, and it turns out my wrists don't really work as well as they used to. So I stopped gaming for a while, and then one of my friends started bugging me to play this game, Genshin Impact. It's a gacha game, okay. Not too into those because I have a 15-year-old who likes to game, and my wallet doesn't like gacha games, you know? So, but he said, no, my friend said, no, you can play it. You don't even have to do any of that stuff. And he bugged me for like a month. And when you have a friend who knows you really well, and they're bugging you to do something for like a month, you're like, oh, fine, I'll do it. But as I started playing it, oh my God, I loved it. It had all these great, you can fly, you can climb walls, all the walls. You can find these treasure chests in weird places. You have easy quests, you have hard quests. It's great. And I come from a generation of gamers where the grind was the grind, right? That's actually how I met my husband, was in Final Fantasy XI. I was a white mage, he was a ninja, it's meant to be. But this game, I could do everything on my own. It was really fun, and I could pick it down or at any time. I could pick it up at any time. I could play for an hour. I could play for a day. I did lose a couple Sundays. Not going to be honest about that. And then, of course, as I do, I started thinking about, wow, this game has reach. This game got me, a person who would have ignored it, to play it because it gave me quality of life improvements over other games. They have a new customer because they thoughtfully included quality of life improvements. So, okay, maybe I could do this in accessibility. Maybe I could do this in Ember. Ideas, right? And then I'm here to tell you that. Because I think the future of Ember isn't about accessibility. I know I am Accessibility Zoe, but hear me out. The future of Ember is not about accessibility, it's about reach. Because reach encompasses accessibility. Reach encompasses performance and security and testing and modernization. That's reach. By working to increase your product's reach, you'll naturally start paying attention to the things that will help you get there in a meaningful way. Reach, more reach. If that's your goal, accessibility will be part of that. And I think reach is really meaningful because when we improve the accessibility or security or the performance of our applications, that feels way better than like a marketing jingle that's meant to get new users or new people to open the app, but do they ever come back? Those things don't really feel too meaningful. Improving that code, I know, especially as an engineer, I love that part. I can go home at the end of the day and just feel content. So what platform provides us maximum reach? To answer this question, we'll go through a data-driven process. I'm gonna run over by a little bit, and I'm recognizing that up front, I'm sorry. But what do we have? We have device types. We've got a Braille user here. We've got a airline, the touchscreens that you get in planes. And then, of course, somebody's Mac collection. Thank you, Unsplash. Reach could mean quality of your connection. Maybe you're out camping and you have got like a little satellite dish, or you're on a mobile device, or you have a battle station, so you've got cable. That's really fast. And then you've got reach for types of users. That's Jonas, isn't he so cute? We have all kinds of users. We have small children growing up with the internet from, whatever the age that was, and school children, and thoughtful hipster dude. Thank you for getting my ironic joke. I really appreciate you right now. So we have some constraints too. So the user, so we need a device. We need a user to use the device, obviously. Some sort of network connectivity. Also, the picture might be misleading, so I want to clarify that physical height is not a constraint in this scenario. What platform is on every single device? From stadium TVs to your phone, to your laptop, your Switch, your PlayStation, Xbox, whatever. What is it? The web. Phew, because we build for the web, and this would have been really depressing if I was about to say something else. The web browser is on every device. And nearly every person in the world has access to some type of device. And the ones who don't have it yet, we're working on that. There are massive initiatives that are happening in the world to try to help with that. So reach then is ultimately about people. Ironically, to expand our reach and reach those people, we have to think outside the machine that we're developing on. And that can be a challenge because we spend a lot of time, excuse me while I pour some more water, we spend a lot of time in our own heads, turning designs and our own ideas and turning those into code, right? So that is it brings our universe down to very small, just us here. And thinking about reach means expanding that all the way out. So we have this challenge of expanding and contracting. That's hard. I have a friend named Eric, and he has a thing he says, paint the picture, not the frame. What is your intent? You might get pixel perfect. Pixel perfect is a lie, just like the cake is a lie. It's just a thing. We're going to all have to accept it someday, and someday is now. It's okay. We'll have a drink later. We'll talk it through. You'll be fine. But what's the purpose of what we're building? To do that, to think that way, we have to expand our idea of what we can build. This will lead us to a world that's pixel-based but without pixels constraints, right? We're going to have to hold those two ideas at the same time. I know, very Zen Buddhist, but again, it'll be okay. So I want to hone in on the facet of reach, accessibility. What do I think the future is? It's very convenient. I didn't see the list of talks before I wrote this talk. So I am very happy to say that most of you seem to agree with me. Because I think the future is, in this regard, I think reach is design systems. Because with design tokens, with patterns, with documentation, we're going to help ourselves think bigger. We're going to help ourselves expand our own reach. And in the tradition of every speaker ever, I have probably tried too hard on this, but I've did a company website. And it is explicitly for Ember developers. Oh, that thing's in the way. Oh well. Well, you can just go see it if you want to. I started a little website, a little project, Ember-A11Y-4.dev. And this website intends to be your companion guide when you're starting up a new app. There's not a ton on there yet, so be patient. I'm just getting started. But I'm committed to making this explicitly for Ember developers. And I'm going to ask you for a favor. File issues. Tell me what you want to see on there. What's hard for you in accessibility? What's hard for you to understand? What patterns do you really want to see code samples of? Concrete ones, not concrete ones. And in closing, I want to remind you that you do not require permission to create accessible code. And I'm super serious. If you need to talk about this, if you need support, if your team needs support, let me know. I'm here for you. And I'm excited about the future of accessibility in Ember. Thank you.